What's going
All
on,
right, you
guys?
guys, welcome back to Tuesday Night Live. I was going to say Saturday Night Live. I was just watching it, but we
That's a
got.
good show.
I know there. This
It is a
season's
good show.
actually this season's a lot better than it was last season. But that aside, Frank, thank you so much for hopping on with us. For everybody that's joining and coming on right now, we have Frank Vargas from Frank's Fly Shack, Fly Fishing Shack, or Fly Shack.
Fly Shack. Frank's Fly
Fly
Shack.
Shack.
Yeah.
Local surf fishing guide, and then do you guide anywhere else or just saltwater surf fishing?
I do saltwater fly fishing, but likewise, the whole carp action, that whole scene kind of falls underneath me too as well. So it's just kind of, locally wise, what do I do when I'm in my backyard? So
There
that's
you go.
salt and carp.
A lot of
Yep.
fun.
Yeah, for sure.
So this
Cool.
episode, we're going to break down the fishing scene. We're going to break down a lot of fly fishing. We're going to pick your brain about it. I'm really excited. I know you've been fly fishing pretty much the whole coast of California and in Mexico, a couple of different states. So hearing some of those stories are going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, for sure. It's always good. It's a lot of road tripping is what it comes down to, and just, you know, plotting on the map where we're going to go. And then likewise, who's going to go. And if no one goes, there's been people that have gone with me once or twice, but then once we get to our destination of where we're going to go and checking at the fly shops, kind of start making friends that way. It's just a whole kind of like culture to me. What happens is, jumping in the car and going to a fly shop, finding fishy water, bringing fishy people with me, making them fishier, and then likewise just making that fishy connection.
I love that. Making them fishier.
I know it's so
So,
much fun.
Charlie, let's jump into what's before we get into this whole thing. Let's jump into
So
what's
so
going on
before
local
we
this week.
before we jump into all the cool stuff of fly fishing and calico fly fishing and big cutthroat fly fishing
Ooh.
and all that good stuff, let's start with you, Frank. Plug yourself in. Where can people find you? So Frank's Fly Shop is your company, your guide company's name, right?
Fly Shack.
Fly
Frank's Fly
Shack.
Shack.
Sorry.
Yep,
Yeah,
yep,
Frank's
yep.
Fly Shack is your company name. So where can we find you? Plug yourself in.
Cool. Yeah. I mean, I'm on Instagram. I'm out there. I'm doing my hashtags, all that stuff. But likewise, you know what? It's just making that connection with people that find me on social media. A location, like a mom and pop shop that I refer to as Fisherman Spot. It's the only fly fishing store in LA City. I'm part of that whole scene there. So likewise, I mean, you come in, you need a fly line, any of that, boom, we got you. So it's my services that are known on social media. Likewise, that's who I am. Just come to the shop, find me at Fisherman Spot. It's over in Burbank, off of Burbank and Van Nuys, and we'll be there, 818-785-7306. Ask for Frank.
There you go. So if you guys are interested in getting some guide services from Frank, hit him up. The number he just said. We'll also share it on our stories, so you guys could be able to reach him. And then even the fly shop where he works at. So that could be pretty cool. So thanks for plugging that in. We also have another event happening this weekend. Tackle Meet. Danny, you want to talk about Tackle Meet real quick?
Sure, I would love to talk about it, Charlie. So right
Thank you.
now, huh? Yeah, so
Thank you.
right now, Tackle Meet is meeting the 26th, Saturday in Costa Mesa. There's a flyer up. You can catch it on our socials. So you can catch it there. Follow us on, Artemis, Dolan Bates, and El Charlie as well for all the information. But for the most part, Tackle Supply and Waterman's Collective will be there. Those are resellers of Dolan Baits, which is a lot of fun. There's going to be belly weights. There's going to be a lot of different colors of slugs, dragon tails, and skeleton craws, as well as candy craws. So a lot of baits, a lot of popular stuff that people want. So yeah, show up, grab some baits, and go fishing.
Nice.
So, if you guys are swinging by Waterman's booth,
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
if you're interested in my T-shirts, I won't be there. I'm fishing the Balboa Angling Club tournament with Lifelike Plastics. They invited me out on their boat, and I'm super stoked to go fish that tournament. But if you're interested in my shirts, I'm not making any more runs of them, of these current ones, until PCS. So whatever stock's left, this is kind of your last chance to get it. They're going to be at the Waterman's booth, and also you can check out all the Harbor Masters rods and all that good stuff that Grant's going to have to offer. So, Charlie,
Nice.
we got a beach cleanup. Is that correct?
Yeah, so Anglers Collective is going to be having an event on Saturday, the 26th in the morning. And Jordan, Mangled and Tangled, sent us a little message that we wanted to share with you guys here on this live tonight. Let me get to that message real quick. Give me 1 second.
Hey, you know, when I'm working at Fisherman's Spot, that's always an event. You guys come on down, have some fun. Like on Sundays, we're always doing something. At least, you know, Luke shows up, you know, some other people show up to tie flies. And likewise,
Yep.
like, I just tell people, come down. Likewise, like, shit, I need a coffee, or excuse the language. I mean, hell, I need a coffee break.
You guys
know,
also have
and-
like clinics, right? Like clinics, like tying up clinics and all that?
Yeah, we got an instructor in house. He does fly tying 1-on-1 or like 2-to-1. You know, he's the instructor. We got introduction to fly fishing, which is if you haven't started yet, we got a whole class that's just geared for getting you
I was
started.
going to say, yeah, like when I'm tying in the morning, I hear the guys in the class over in the other corner.
Nice. So this Saturday, October 26th, Anglers Collective will be hosting a harbor fishing spot cleanup in Alamitos. They will be hosting several raffles. A lot of good companies have supported this event. Real Happy. Who else? Real Happy, Promart, Ahi, Hookup Baits. So a couple companies have supported this event. It's going down on this October 26th. There will be water provided, so they're going to be having food as well. It should be a cool event. If you guys are able to join, it could be cool, you know. Support you guys. If you guys collect a bag of trash, I think a half bag of trash or a bag of trash, you're gonna get a raffle ticket. I think it's max for 2 people. Two raffle tickets per person.
There, right, Charlie?
I will be there. I'm gonna be hanging out with Fishbone Magazine. We're probably gonna film a video. You know, he's gonna be recording me, and I'm gonna be interviewing people. You know, I love interviewing people, right?
Dude, you guys are stars. You got a lot of stuff going on, a lot of connections, man.
It's like I love interviewing people.
Well, one of the advantages to what we do is there's 3 of us, so we're kind of extended more than any one person could be.
Yeah, so it's pretty cool. But make sure you guys check it out. If you guys have any questions, reach out to Mangled and Tangled. Right?
Correct. You can reach out to Mangled and Tangled. So Jordan for extra information and all that stuff. I'm excited to jump in. Is there anything else that we want to talk about?
Name. You got to look up Mangled and Tangled if you want to find him.
I said both, but it's okay, Luke. I know you're
mangled or tangled, or
mangled and tangled.
And tangled. Yeah, all right. Got it.
Mangled and tangled. But yeah, guys, make sure you guys if you guys have any questions, reach out to him. He's always.
There's so much going on. So Dave just let us know that the angling club body tournament is also.
That's what Luke is doing this Saturday.
That's what I'm doing on Saturday. That's what I was
that's saying. What Luke's doing this Saturday.
That's why I'm not going to be at Tackle Me.
That was just like a commercial that came up.
A little commercial.
Yeah, it was like a little mini commercial there, just reinforcing it. I like it.
I'm gonna be out at the Balboa Angling Club getting my butt kicked by D-Day.
Oh.
I think you should take the fly. Take a fly rod.
Take a fly rod.
That'll be a whole next level.
New baits, you know, all poured up, just especially for him. I can't wait to see him absolutely slay on him.
Ooh, Dave?
Yeah, Dave's got some special colors.
I know, I heard.
I got one. Try that one, Luke.
I'm going to do it. I'm going to throw that on a Texas rig.
A Texas, all right.
All right. So, Frank, what's going on, brother? Happy to have you on the live.
Yeah. I'm just, wow, man. I mean, just hearing you guys talk about all these events you got going on. And likewise, like you guys let me know about all these numbers of people showing up and support and just that community that you guys have established. Like, you know, there's a fly fishing community and likewise, all of a sudden now just myself being exposed to people like you guys are like a really cool batch of guys. And likewise your friends and the people you guys attract and support one another, and you have these events. Like, to me, I see these events happening, and it's growing your community. Likewise with fly fishing, that's what, we try to do. We're trying to kind of like, people get older, people kind of start, moving on to the next level of life, and that's fine. But likewise, finding that newer generation, that's where I'm at. I like stoking out the younger kids, getting them dialed. And likewise, you said, like, getting people fishier, like that's what I like to do, man. Just like seeing them understand it, put it all together, and all of a sudden now they're holding up more fish, bigger fish, and just, that's what kind of gets me going. On that end.
I don't want to sound like I'm tooting my own horn over here or anything, but I recently went fishing with a guy. My little elf behind me is dropping stuff. So I recently went fishing with a guy who was like, he hit me up. He's like, hey, I just want to learn how to fish. I want to know how to fish better. So we went out, I just taught him, I showed him what I do, and he's been absolutely applying it and just sending me pictures of fish. And I love it. It's so much fun to take somebody and be like, yeah, here, this is how I do it. I don't think it's anything special, but it does catch fish.
Well,
And then he just comes back week after week with more fish.
Which is funny too, though, because like when you say this is what I do, what you do is completely different than what you first did when I met you.
Mm-hmm. Big time. He's grown. We're all grown. Yeah. I'm not the same person that I used to be, right? Like, that's for sure, It's
always changing and evolving.
For sure, man. And you're always learning new things, right? That's why you have to have an open mind. You're not supposed to be like, oh, I know everything, man, you're always gonna learn something new, right? I've never picked up a fly rod in my life until I met you guys. I mean, because you got Luke all pumped up into fly fishing. That's all he talks about now, fly fishing.
That's it, man. From the day he walked in the store, it was just like like that. Just magnets, not polar opposites. Right? Him coming from his side and where I was at, it was just attraction, like just for fishiness. You just know, and likewise, like just connecting with people too. Vibes wise, whatever people put off. When it's a good energy, like I find myself gravitated towards them. I just want to touch bases, like. Those pictures that you're talking about that you get from friends or the last dude you were working with, like to me, all the young bucks that I've been able to kind of like help out along the way, they could be male, female, whatever it is. But like, there's a handful that are like, dude, their pictures just keep getting bigger, right?
Bigger and bigger.
So yeah. And it comes down to like, I always kind of ask people like, are you quality or quantity? And it's like, some people like that quality. And that's that, 1 or 2 fish a day, but like well worth it, but at the same time, people enjoy, quantity, and there's nothing wrong with that.
What are you, Frank? Quantity or quality?
Quantity. Nah, quality, I mean, that's why, like, I like to chase big fish, I mean, that's what I do look for, that's finally catch. If I only catch one fish and it's that fish, like I'm stoked on it, It doesn't mean like, but then there comes that time like, shit, I didn't get one yet, So then you got to kind of like sacrifice and just get one, right? So I've done that. And likewise, I've been in small streams where it's just about catching a bunch of small little fish and enjoyed that too, just for being outdoors.
But it's a stream, right? You're not expecting this gigantic fish, Or could you?
That's like the bomb when you find like small streams, small rivers that are harboring like big fish, or if you're finding, just fish like on their, kind of like when they're running, it's almost like when they're getting ready, they're all pre-spawned up or something like that, or if they're in lake staging, and they're getting ready to run into a river, they're fired up, anything that they got to eat, they're going to eat it, aggressively. Anything that's in their way, they're going to hit it aggressively,
Charlie,
so.
The cool part about streams and rivers is you can find some absolute giants just hiding under like an overhanging part of the bank and stuff. There can be really big fish in almost negative water.
Yeah,
they hide really well.
It's funny that you talked about them running in streams at certain times, because I've got a buddy who we've got plans. He's like, I'm going to let you know when when the big ones start running in the streams, get ready to make a run. I'm like, all right. That's next on my list.
Yeah, no, for sure. Like there's the fall run right now. Like that usually happens up in Montana, and that's kind of a little trip I usually take about this time, and it's, weather dependent. You need those gray skies. You need a little bit of moisture to come down and, raise the elevation of the lake, and that kind of triggers these fish. All right, I got to go. So we're catching them pre-spawn. We're not catching them on beds. Definitely discouraged catching fish on their reds. It's not a cool thing. I just try to catch that run before they're in their total spawn mode. It's that pre-spawn game, and it's throwing big streamers. I like throwing big patterns, and that's what it comes down to, is that strip and that strip set and just fighting the fish. And likewise in the river, on the ocean, on the beach, in a pond, in a canal, in the LA River, just finding those big fish that are going to make it hard for me to bring them in. That's what I did.
Have you fished for carp in the LA River?
Yeah, I have. I definitely have. And that's like kind of one of the first places I started carp fishing, and I've had a lot of mentors through my career, like one of the ones I worked with was Dean Endress, and, he was a carpy dude. He still is to this day, but he really kind of like brought it to my attention and talked to me about, behaviors and how to approach them and how to fight them. And, from there, I just kind of evolved my own style, and what worked for me and how I could apply it. And then likewise, how could I teach it, or show people, and it's interesting because that whole thing with, just growing myself has attracted, some of my tight friends that, like, my buddy Joey Camacho, man, he's a fishy dude, and he fishes gear, he fishes fly, he just catches fish on everything. And our connection was like, he's like, dude, he reached out, and it might have been, he came to the shop and was like, dude, I want to go learn to catch carp in the LA River. And it was just like, once again, that magnetic draw of like, dude, you're fucking solid, dude. Like, I want to hang out with you, man. Like, he came to hang out with me, and I was like, dude, I would have sought you out to hang out with you. And like our relationship, the first like 4 years was just like, dude, we were fishing at Lake Casitas, we were hitting the LA River, and he was getting that dialed in, and he was, helping me with that bass game too. So just, broadening, the types of fish that I was, fishing for and understanding them, like just growing relationships like that's been dope. But yeah, back to the LA River, that was like kind of like, talk about home water, that salt water, that, grimy LA River water, any of the urban parks, you find ourselves, a fly fishing community kind of scattered throughout trying to just stay fishy. It just keeps you working on your cast, keeps you working on your stripping, your techniques, and especially fighting fish. When you're able to get a fish and just fight them, like every time you're just going to get better and better. You're going to learn, or you're just going to be proficient at it.
Yep.
Yeah. It's spending that time doing I mean, when we went to me and my wife stopped by the, what was it called? The
Double haul.
The double haul
ball. Yeah.
The double haul ball, right?
Yeah.
Like, just to see, like when you were trying to teach me how to cast, right? Like the patience, because I mean, I was doing horrible, but it's something that I mean, it was my first time driving, like not the first time, right? But like actually like really learning how to cast,
that technique. Yeah. I mean,
really cool. She told you to buy a rod.
Yeah, she was like, you should buy a fly rod. It looks cool on you.
Yeah, I know. That's what it was. Everyone looks good fly fishing.
Charlie, Charlie specifically just has a swagger about himself.
Well, he's the cool guy.
I feel like Charlie could really carry a fly rod.
No, I'm not. I'm not. But it was cool. It was cool to like see you in your element, right? Like your teaching element. Like this is what you do. And I could only imagine when you take somebody out for the first time, it's like watching them catch a fish, or just learning how to cast, and getting the technique down. It's pretty rewarding,
Now, Frank, you're gonna have to correct me if I'm wrong. I feel like fly fishing is a lot like golf, where it's really personal, and you really have to know yourself in order to make the same cast over and over again.
Yeah, you got to invest. I mean, the more time on the water, right? You guys know that. This is where we're speaking at time on the water, and that's what happens. You got to learn yourself. You got to learn, your casting technique. You got to learn your range of motions, and then likewise commit it to like a memory. It's like, not that I've ever had a DUI, but maybe I have. Who knows? Just being able to do that with your eyes closed. That's what I can compare it to. And it's like, what, for fly fishing at night, with Luke, it's just knowing. It's knowing that like underneath my index finger on my right hand, that's where I can go strip from. you know, and you know, to the casting, you know, it becomes second nature the more you do it, either when you're fishing or if, you know, you're going to a pond to practice casting, or like, you know what, I like when people come in and buy fly rods and they're testing them out at Fisherman's Spot. Like, I get to go out there a lot of times, like I'll just walk them out and set them up, but then likewise, like I'll try to stay out there and cast too. And it's not to show anyone or do anything. It's just that like connection with your fly rod, with any fly rod that you're just kind of, you know, really close to it. It's a love relationship. It's not a love hate. There's just, I love doing it. I love being connected to it. And it does push myself. It does push others. And, you know, I like to try to do that in a healthy manner, encouraging. You know, there is the times in the relationships that grow and they're like, oh, you missed one, you know, like, oh, I mean, obviously other words are used, but it's in a good manner, you know, and that's the pushing. And likewise, like I try to surround myself, you know, I got another buddy, Lil Jay. He's way up here, you know, that's how I see him, you know, and it's like, you know, I feel like I'm down here. And so it's, I keep myself with not competitive people, but people that push me, right? People that make me focus on more of what I need to improve, you know, but that's who I surround myself with. And it's to become, you know, if it's like a team eventually, you know, and you're all striving for that one thing. And likewise, he's a headhunter too. And that's what's cool to go fish with him, because likewise, if he figures something out before me, or vice versa, if I figured out like, hey, throw this, shorten your leader longer, hold it down longer, you know, before you start stripping, you know, get a longer count, etc. Try blue or white, black over white, whatever it is. Like,
well, no, go ahead, finish.
Oh, just end of the day with like, you know, I got a squad, you know, and it's a tight squad, you know, like, and that's what it is. We're all driving off of each other to fish better, not to outfish, but to become just as good, if not better. And it just kind of is just kind of growing. And it just kind of takes us, to me personally, in my point of view, is that we just kind of keep pushing each other to where we're, you know, my hands are out of the scene now and it's off the chart. Like, that's where we're at, you know, and that's what I pursue.
Yeah, it's interesting that you say that, because like I'll be fishing with Luke and it's like, oh, what you catch that on? Oh, on a 5-inch paddle tail, you know? And then it's like vice versa. Oh, what you catch it on? Oh, they're wanting the craw, right? It's essentially feeding off of each other to catch more fish, you know? I'm not gonna be like stubborn and be like, nah, I just keep fishing this, you know, until I catch a fish. Nah, like what's working?
I mean, along with this sport, you know, it can be a team-oriented sport, or it can be as individual as you want. And as Charlie's talking about, like, hey, yeah, you know, we approach it from a very team-oriented viewpoint of, all right, you use this, I use this, we're going to figure out the bite. But also, I love the aspect of you're like, no, I'm just trying to push myself to be better because that's what I want. And in this world of social media, it's very easy to compare yourself to somebody else. So it's nice to be like, no, I'm striving for better for myself because I want to catch more fish. And I always tell people like, I'm selfish. I want to catch more fish. I want to catch bigger fish. I'm going to apply myself.
100%. Like, I like what you just said. Like, that lines up with like my own personal mission: more fish and bigger fish. Like, that's the pursuit for me, you know. It's pushing myself to that, like, okay, cool, you know, it's chasing that calico that's going to push over 5-6 pounds, but not just once, you know, back to back, or, you know, you're picking them up on that consistent, you know, figuring out that game. But likewise, like, I mean, when I find myself fishing alone, that's, you know what, that's time for me to reflect on like my life. That's where I
100%, right? Like,
yeah.
if you're alone, that's on you, right?
Yeah.
But if you're fishing with somebody, it's not like you said in the beginning, it's not about I could catch more fish than you, I could catch bigger fish than you. It's about what's working at that time and can I adapt to that style of fishing that you're doing, right? Because it could easily be like I'm tying the same, we're throwing the same paddle tail, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he's catching more than me, or it's the same, right? We're catching fish on the same bait, you know. It's cool to adapt to what the situation is at that time.
Yeah, for sure. And, you know, that's what it comes down to. Like, you know, on the beach wise too, or like streams, when I go with like my friends and stuff, a lot of the time we're fishing together, but they could be like 50 yards away, you know, 75. And likewise, I might get a hoot, hey, come down here, I found them, or like, hey, come net this fish, you know, or, you know, hey, come take a picture. but we're still together on that scene. And then sometimes there's just like, hey, dude, I found a good hole. Get over here, and vice versa. We share that, right?
Yeah.
At least, the crews that I go out with, it's always like if someone finds something, we just share the wealth, the knowledge, everything, share the whole. I just want to put out there too, another mentor that I've had from Ventura was Lee Behrman. And that was early in my career too, exposing me to the surf and kind of took me under his wing a little bit and showed me some. And I'm grateful for all these, people that have come into my life and have showed me more. And the fact of willing to want to learn more, that's what, really I take into how much more can I learn? And it's never ending, and that's what I'm grateful for, is just to kind of
Never
more and
ending,
more.
man.
Yeah.
It's never ending for sure. Oh, Luke, you made it home. Oh, he's on mute. You're on mute.
I did
No
make it
background
home.
noise.
I did. My rod wrapper stopped spinning. Sorry, I was checking that out.
Now, in my mind, there's a lot of freshwater applications that can be implemented in saltwater. Do you see that a lot with fly fishing, or is it, is it black and white? Is it like, yeah, there's a ton of different applications. It's all it is, slight differences and changes.
Well, I mean, there's multiple ways of fly fish, right? There's the dry fly presentation with the floating fly line. There's using nymphs and weights to get your fly down to the bottom, of the river, or find it somewhere in the lake in the water column where you got to be at. But likewise, one of my big things I enjoy fly fishing, and it covers me on every aspect, from fishing at a pond to fishing a creek, a river, to the ocean, and that's just throwing streamers. That strip boom, it's throwing big patterns, triggering that fish, figuring out what colors it is that's going to work for them. So likewise, from freshwater to saltwater and everything in between, like, to me, it all fits into how I like to do it, and I came from throwing gear or spin gear and throwing like Panther Martins and all that good stuff. And that's where streamer fishing, on the fly I was able to kind of put a lot of stuff together when I took, how did I do things when I was, throwing the gear, throwing a split shot and a worm, bouncing on the bottom for Euro nymph is what I put that together with, throwing those, Rapalas or whatever they are, cast masters, and just swinging them across places that, where I thought there would be a big fish. And, since I was a kid, like figuring it out, like where's the big fish has always been a mission, and it's always been, my dad's been a big part of it. And it was always like trying to not show up pops, but like, be like, dad, look what I got, but it's like, cause he showed me what to do and how to do it, and it just elevated me, and it's always been that, just chasing those big fish from however I was fishing to now. But like, yeah, the applications I enjoy using, streamer fishing, it goes all the way over to the saltwater. With Luke Wise, just sometimes, these fish are catching our patterns on a drop, right? So they're sinking and mimicking some sort of crustacean or something like that. But likewise, when you're in that action of a strip set and this tug of war, like same thing with when it's a trout, they're getting triggered on a bait fish pattern swimming by them, or coming into their territory that they're aggressively taking it. And same thing, then the fight's on, and it's, that strip set you got to put into them. You got to dig in that big hook to them. And likewise, it's the fight that's on. And to
there's
me,
something different about getting that, not only getting them on that strip set, but then fighting them on the strip. Like when you don't have the reel, when it's just you and the line.
Yeah, for sure. It's hand-to-hand combat, Mortal Kombat.
Mortal Kombat.
That's our power move,
right?
Yeah.
Now, sorry to change gears a little bit, but I really want to hear you and Luke kind of talk about that tiger shark you guys caught. 'Cause I thought that was the funnest thing to watch.
Oh, the leopard.
Or leopard shark.
That would have been crazy if it was a tiger, though, huh?
That would have been a little bit more insane for our waters for sure. But that was so much cool to watch, especially Luke being at the level that he is. And I wouldn't say he's the most experienced surf fishing for fly fishing. So it's like Luke's talked to
It
me
was my
about it and
first
just like
time.
his experiences, but I
And
thought
of
that was
course,
just
you
such a
landed a
fun
big
video to
old
watch.
shark, right?
Well, you know what? It was funny too because you guys were asking, you're like, we should get your buddy Frank on, and I'd been saying for a while, I was like, well, hold on, we got a couple videos coming out. I want those videos to come out first. So it's kind of it's cool that we waited a minute, and now, like, if someone hasn't seen those videos, they can watch our fly or die video at the break wall, or they could watch that shark on the fly video and kind of go back and reference what we're talking about.
Yeah, dude, that was just a fun day. I mean, it was, every time that I go out with someone, and like, what me and Luke, how we exchange what we do, like, that's what it is, an exchange. It's all right, I'm gonna help you out, you're gonna help me out with, what you offer with your services, and likewise, this is what I do. It's walking the beach and looking, sight fishing. I mean, a lot of us out there can blind fish and catch majority of those fish that that you can sight fish. But that's the thrill of it, when we went to go look for Corbina. Go ahead.
Well, that was the cool thing in that video. We saw the fish, we saw the shark. So you start tying up a new leader. I start taking off my leader. You're over putting on the new leader. You're like, have you seen it again? And I'm like, I just saw something over there out of the corner of my eyes. I don't think it was water movement. And it was like, put it in there where I just saw that, and that's where he was.
Yeah.
Like you said, full on sight fishing.
Yeah. I mean, that thrill. I mean, we showed up to sight fish for Corbina, hopefully, even though it's kind of tapering down, water temps are going up. But likewise with that happening, there's, just a connection of people say that there's been leopard sharks in the mix. And it was, what, I changed my fly out just like that. And I think Luke saw that. Like, I don't even think we saw a bean, if I remember right there. Maybe we saw something, and it was just like, there's not enough.
No,
I'd already walked like 50 yards.
Yeah, you said you saw a leopard, and then I started looking for him, and it was like, oh, that was definitely one. I saw the whole tail.
Yeah,
that's so cool, man.
That's like the best part. Like going from like, let's catch up the ghost of the coast, which is all it's a challenging fish, to catch on the fly, to sight fish it and to fair hook it, right? That's the whole thing, right? But then likewise to go and be able to switch gears, and that's where it goes to me. Like, why would I, if there was beans showing up and there was big ones in the mix and there was leopards all in the mix at the same time, like whatever, if they were just next door, like I'd go chase those leopards.
Hey,
and
we
just
gotta
the fact,
hey, that's a cool little saying what you just said right now. You gotta talk about that after, man. The ghost of the coast.
Ghost of the coast, yeah, that's it. Corbina.
There's
another,
cool.
yeah, Corbina.
Never heard that before. Is that something people say?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I don't know who's coined it, but likewise, there's presentations that go on. There's a dude, Glenn Yoeda, he kind of puts on a Ghost of the Coast presentation and takes it traveling, and it gets people involved. It gets them, excited. But yeah, I mean, that's a whole other thing to kind of talk about from the leopard to, and it's like, dude, both are just as exciting. When it comes down to that fair hook on the leopard, that's when it's like, dude, you can land that thing. He's fishing a 6-weight, and that's where I'm teaching him. Like, you don't need an 8-weight in the surf. We need a 6-weight. So if I hook a little perch when I'm blind fishing, it's still going to be fun. If I hook, a nice leopard or a spot fin croaker or any type of yellowfin croaker or something, it's still going to be fun. I'll have plenty of backbone, a fighting butt on it to, put that pressure on. And likewise, if you fair hook, and when you do fair hook a leopard, it's enough to turn him. It's enough to put that pressure on. And likewise, like Luke, some of the video might have shown like the give and take. That doesn't mean like you're grinding on them, they're coming in right away, because there's like, it's coming in, all of a sudden it sees us.
Five good runs.
Yeah. So it's knowing that give and take, and likewise it's a hardy fish. It's a saltwater fish. I mean, there is the point, like, dude, if you foul hooked them and it's, you're 30 minutes in, 45 minutes in, hour in, I mean, that fish is going to be exhausted too. So I mean, there's a point when it's foul hooked and you can't, you try to turn your rod and that thing's still going that way, as opposed to like turning on you and going with the direction of your bend. So I mean, there's the point of breaking off. There's the point of like, if you can't break it off, hurry up and just land this thing, because you'll put enough pressure on either it's going to break it off, or we're just going to get it in a hurry and just get it off, get it back out there, give it another day to fight. But yeah, I mean, it's just, oh man, I got a buddy Ari, I go fly fishing in the surf a lot. He's got a boat too. Like that's what, me and him hang out on his boat. But when I've gone like sight fishing for beans and leopards have showed up, it just switches for me. It's I would skip the Corvina to go to the leopards. But you just got me excited, man. I'm like, let's go.
I was
When
like, I
are we
want to go
going? When are we
leopard. I want to
going?
go leopard hunting.
Yeah, I'm like Monday morning. I think I'm walking the surf.
Yeah.
Hey, you did say that day. You were like, I don't know. I might just grab my rod and go to the surf.
Oh, I've got a surf rod now.
Oh, look at you.
Oh, you got a 6-weight now.
No, I'm going light. I'm going 5-weight.
Are you going 5-weight? Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
that's there's a lot of knowledge out there, and there's books that have been written, there's people, there's dude LQ that's wrote a book, and I think in his book he says you could do a 5-weight for beans, I mean, to me,
I swung by my dad's house. He had 2 5-weights available, so that's what I took.
Dude, your dad, talking about your dad landed that nice halibut.
Yeah, he got a 35-inch halibut this morning on the Warbaits jig head with a 4-inch violet hollow shed torpedo.
Your favorite color.
My favorite color on the daytime.
Damn. I know. I saw that. Congratulations, by the way, Mr. Dean, if you're watching this episode later. But it was a nice one, man.
It was really nice.
But let's shift into, you talk about weights. Like, let's talk about that for people that maybe are interested in getting into fly fishing.
Yeah, for sure. Let me. I got my dog in the backyard. Let me just shut the door.
Oh, I thought that was Stain for a second.
No, that was Lady. That's the fishing homie of all homies. She's always there. That's what everyone needs, is a good dog that's not going to spook the water, that spots fish for you too.
Yeah, and if you go into the fly shop to tie flies Sunday morning, she'll hang out with you.
Yeah, that's the cool thing. Yeah, if you're going to be at the shop when I'm there, the dog's always there. And what's cool about her story is, like, I got her at like 5 weeks, so she was just always tucked underneath, the arm. When she was at the shop, she was on the counter till she could get all of her shots. And, just the bond that's happened and just her demeanor in the shop, she learned how to behave in the shop there. She's not the dog that eats feathers, she's, likewise not the dog that goes and jumps in the water and spooks the fish just because she wants to jump in the water. Like, she's got that patience. She'll sit there and track fish as I'm changing flies or patterns or whatever it is. And it's like, I can rely on her to where those fish move to. Just for me to like glance at her and look at where her 50-yard stare is and be like, okay, got it. So that's what's cool. But yeah, talking sticks wise, rods, that's one thing, that I was kind of taught like early on, just from the old timers. They correct you as an old timer. When I would say, oh, I got a fishing pole, they'd be like, no, you don't have a fishing pole, you got a fly rod. And it's like, oh shit, okay, I got a fly rod. So just passing that information on, and to keep it in a positive manner. They're called fly rods. But the good go-to when we all get started is a 5-weight. 9-foot 5-weight's kind of going to be your putter, I guess, if we're referring to this golfing game. But likewise, I mean, within maybe a season of you fishing that 9-foot 5-weight in certain locations that you're going on a regular, you might decide you don't need such a big rod. So I mean, they come in weights 1 through 14. All the ones I have are even numbers. There might be an odd number in there, but the smaller the number you go, the lighter the rod. So I mean, if someone's just getting started, that 9-foot 5-weight kind of puts them in the game for catching trout, some small bass, some bluegill. Still keeps it fun, still able to handle it. You start getting into bigger fish, you're going to need that bigger rod.
And now
there's
when we were at the double hull ball,
The haul ball.
Yeah.
the double hull,
I like that
it's the double hull ball, right?
the ball. We were having a ball there at the hall.
We were having a ball at the
Yeah.
ball.
Yeah.
Anywho, it's really hard to cast that heavy line, right? Like, we were casting heavy line.
Yeah, for sure.
Luke was telling me, he's like, it's hard to cast heavy line, right?
I like it though.
Yeah, but
There's a feeling when you're like, trout fishing's cool. It's cool, you do your thing. But when you're in the salt and you've got your line way out and you've got that heavy line and you go back and you feel all that heavy line come back and pull tight on you before your final cast, there's a feeling that not only do you not get on traditional gear, but you don't get on a lot of other fly gear. You don't get that feeling of that much heavy line behind you all pulled tight. It's
I want to say
intense.
like how we were saying earlier was that connection. I mean,
Yeah.
when we were earlier talking, is that connection with fly fishing. You're connected with your rod. You're connected with your fly line. You know, it's all this feel, but it's a
like
good
pulling
feeling.
back on a heavy. It's like pulling back on a heavy bow.
So
You get this point where there's like all that weight, and then nothing because it's flying forward.
So Frank, you specifically talk about how you love chasing stuff with lighter, ultra light to lighter rods. What would normal people use on a 14, and then what are you using to catch, I guess, that equivalent fish?
If we're doing a 14 weight,
Well, yeah, like what are you catching with a 14? Because you said that
I would say, to explain it really well, like, sorry to interrupt, but when we go out for calicos, I'm fishing 9s and 10s, and I'm fishing 9 and 10 graphite, and he's fishing an 8 fiberglass with the same line on it. Like,
so what's the difference in that, Frank?
You know, it just comes down. I don't know. I like to do, like, if I correlate it to when I was like, you know, spin fishing, gear fishing, whatever it is, like, you know, I'd always pick that ugly stick that was small, right? And then that 2-pound test, and everything was like as light as you could to catch as big a fish as you could. And, you know, once I got more exposure to the whole fly fishing aspect, you know, everything started coming in and lined up right. You know, the only thing that, you know, I started with a fiberglass rod, and it was a 9-foot 5 weight that my dad had given me. And, you know, it did the job. I liked the feel of it, but likewise, I was like, man, this rod is too big. I need something shorter. So, but I like the material. So then, you know, when I go to the shop and I'm like, hey, this is what I used to fish as spin fishing, you know, this tall, you know, and now I have this big 9-foot rod. I'm like, where's the compromise? What can I do? You know, number one, they laughed at me because fiberglass is kind of like, you know, 60s, 70s, early 80s, and then, you know, graphite, composite, all that came around. So they kind of like, in a nice way, kind of were like, dude, that's like old school stuff, you know, like we should get you a newer one, you know. And I was like, no, I like what I like, and that's what I want. So I went with a 7'6" 4-weight. You know, so, you know, I lose a reach compared to someone with a 9-foot rod. You know, they might not have to wade out as far to the seam, to the run, wherever these fish are holding. You know, I might have to wade out a little bit further. I might have to be thigh deep as opposed to the person that's knee deep, you know. So there's some disadvantages. You know, my buddy Ari always jokes with me that, like, oh, we got to move closer for Frank to cast with his fiberglass. No, hell no, man. Like, I'll launch that thing as far as anyone else.
You got a pretty gnarly cast. Like, it looks seamless. Like, you're just like,
well, thanks, man. Well, yeah, I mean, if you think about it, that was like, yeah, I think I was kind of off in the distance, and you and Luke were kind of like, you know, you were checking it out, you know, and then likewise, you know, I kind of stood off for a little bit, watched what was going on, and then likewise, I think when we all kind of came together and brought it to you, like, what do we got to do? Timing, you know, where to start, where to stop, you know, putting the rod tip at a certain point once you're done with your cast, you know, so that the rod was loading, you know, being able to put all that together is what it's taken me, you know, some time, you know. People always ask, like, oh, either how are you doing that, you know, and you know, how are things that much better for you? And it's not that much better. It's just time on the water, you know, and time on the water is casting, time on the water is figuring out that leader, the pattern, the strip, you know, the soak, whatever it is, you know. It's just more amount on the water just makes you fishier, you know, makes you put things together to work for you.
Well, and that's just it too, right? Like, I think I could cast just about as far as you, but you cast that far every time. I cast that far 1 out of every 7 or 8 tries.
Time, right? I mean,
time on the water.
I mean, you've been now fly fishing in the salt now consistently, right? I mean, you've been fly fishing before, you know, in that freshwater, throwing the floating fly line, to now like throwing, you know, 500 grain, you know, with a big sculpin head or barbell eyes or, you know, rabbit strips, everything we're adding to them to you know, getting that finally to come together. And likewise, like, I hear your cast go when it's a good one, and ask, like, how'd that feel? And you're like, oh, that one felt good, you know. And it just comes down to there's going to be more of those, you know. You can hear, I mean, I've dropped casts, you know. I mean, there's, oh shit, you know, it's I lose contact, you know, or I went too far back.
That's the funny one where when you lose contact, you're like, oh, I got all that line behind me.
Yeah. But then we turn it around and like, all right, we'll fish behind us, like make it work for you,
Yeah.
unless it's like next to the motor, next to the trolling motor or something like that. But yeah, it's just putting that time in. I mean, I got little practice casters at home. It's going out with the customers at the shop. It's my friend, my buddy Dave. He's the shop manager, and I mean, he's got time on me, right? But I mean, as far as like fishy wise, we're all fishy that work there. My buddy Rudy, though, like he works there at the shop too. I mean, he's well versed in the fly tying aspect and everything in the shop. We all have our specialties, but when I go out with my buddy Rudy, he's like my coach. He like breaks it down to like, I'm like, hey Rudy, I'm not feeling this, and like he'll be like, all right, cast, and then he helps me to like boom, bring it to that next level. And likewise, every time it's just having someone that if they can cast better, or if they're at that proficiency that's even more than me, it's like, what can I do to make myself better? If you're understanding and seeing what I can't see, right? Because that's when I work with people. It's when I can see what they're not seeing. If they're taking that rod tip all the way back here, to 3 o'clock and the line's hitting the sand, I'm letting them know that. I'm filming them and showing them like, look, you got to try to stop at 12 to make yourself stop at 2, so there's all that we all bring to each other, and likewise, all these gentlemen and women that, have gone to those next levels, they've coached each other. They've, gone through the ringer. What's that?
It's a progression. Yeah, it's progression, right? You progress.
Right. Yeah.
Well, and sometimes you need someone to look at your form to go, oh, you're doing that wrong.
Right. Yeah. 100%. I mean,
so if you guys are interested in fly fishing and want to learn, Frank's your guy.
Yeah, I mean that's what I mean. The more people, the merrier, And if you're a dual person that throws some spin gear and all that, and throws swim baits and all, like, that's cool. We're fishing, and you want to add some to your arsenal, like, let's get you fly fishing. It took me a while to finally hang up that my gear, my regular gear, to commit to fly fishing. And it was like, what, and I'm not telling everyone that's what they have to do. I'm just saying for myself, like, finally I was just like, enough's enough, running back to what was comfortable, running back to when I could catch, fish, to my gear. And it was just like, what, the only way I'm going to get better is I got to commit the time on the water to it, and putting that, when the rubber meets the road is when it started happening. And it's been that progression, I think since I was like 26 or so. I don't think I'm a late bloomer in fly fishing. I hear a lot of stories that started when I was 4 or 5, and you see little kids coming up through that, because of their parents or grandparents, and
it started when I was 42.
Yeah, so there it is, and imagine when you're
you picked up a fly rod at 42.
Mm-hmm.
What about you,
we're
Daniel?
out there doing it.
Have you fly fished when you were a kid?
Yeah. So I actually used the fly rod my dad bought for my mom for like on their wedding day. It's a travel rod, and it's not, it's not the best, but it gets the job done. I was actually fishing the Owens River up north, beautiful river. Still love it. I do a lot of trout fishing, with more spinning rod and spinning gear in general. But one year I was just like, all right, I'm gonna take the fly fishing rod. It's here in the garage, and I'm gonna try and break it down. I knew nothing, still know nothing, pretty much. Maybe a little bit more than nothing now. But that was a really fun day. I was really trying, really getting at it. And then I went up to some other guy kind of fishing, and I was just like, hey, like, what are you using? I'm extremely new. This is like the first time I've ever broke out a fly rod. You got any tips? He looks at me and then like looks at the gear I'm using, and I could see his soul kind of leave his body. And he goes, all right. He pulls out new leader. He ties on new leader. He gives me 2 flies. And I mean, to this day, that guy was like the nicest person that I could have ran into, because it's like he didn't have to put on a new leader. And if you guys know fly fishing, or well, fishing in general, it's expensive. Anything and everything's expensive. So he, tied on a new leader. He gave me some flies, and it was like, this is what I've been getting bit on. Spent the next couple of hours fishing. I got 1 trout, and that's pretty much my story.
One
Yeah.
trout is more than no trout, right?
Oh
Yep.
yeah.
Hey, I've done
Hey,
it.
I
I
spent
can
I spent
retire.
2 days looking for one trout this week.
And you caught one though, and it was a
Yep.
nice one.
I can
Yep.
retire.
It was a
The
nice
more
one.
time your fly or patterns in the water, you're likely to get bit, right? So if we're worried about our cast when we're out fishing, like that's not the time. I mean, we work on it as we're fishing, but like, we got to, there's, I'll just say, you know what, people that are casting more so than the dude that has their fly in the water, side by side, that guy that has that pattern, that fly in the water more, his chances just went up that much more as opposed to him casting.
Yeah.
He can get further, thinking he can get closer, thinking he might think the fish is somewhere else as opposed to like the dude that just casts once or twice, and a good
Hey.
cast at that.
Hey, pin Dave's comment. Best I could do is a bubble and a feather for Bonita and King Harbor in 1993.
Yeah, but that was the hot ticket back then.
Now
Was the Bonita at the bubble?
I don't
So
necessarily
explain, what
count
is the bubble?
Yeah, but I don't count
Is
the
that the-
bubble and fly as fly fishing. That's usually
Is that the
done
one that-
on
The clear one, right? That's what he's referring to. The clear
Yeah.
bubble
The clear
and the fly
bubble that you
But
dangling
I
can
think
water.
he's also. But I don't think he said it. But I think he's also referring to that spot in Kings Harbor they call the bubble, where you would get the Bonita
on the
I
fly.
was about to say,
on
doesn't
whatever.
Shannon break the bubble rig on the channel?
Yeah.
Oh, he's talking about the spot, I think.
Well, he's talking about both. He's talking about using a bubble rig at the bubble.
Oh, okay. I don't.
Am I
Bubble
right,
rig.
Dave?
But yeah, I mean, if you want to talk about the bubble rig, I've used the bubble rig. I have flies in my box. Doesn't mean I fly fish though. It's like Frank saying, it's not a rod, it's a fly rod. It's a fly fishing pole. It's not just an everyday rod. So there is a difference. There's been times where I haven't had the bubble to where I've had to pull off like rosebuds because they'll float, and I'll use that as my indicator.
Rosebuds?
Because I went out with like very limited gear. You know me, I shove stuff in my pockets, and I'm going to make
Same.
whatever is in my pockets work. So I noticed that they're hitting top, and I have like nothing natural. So I found a fly that was just like on the ground that somebody left, and so I started picking off rosebuds because they float. So I used that as my indicator, try and huck that out as far as I could. And you can't really throw a rosebud all that far, but hey, I still caught a fish doing that. But that's
Right.
not fly
Dave-
fishing.
So yeah,
Dave
Dave said the technique and the spot.
Yeah, the bubble technique at the bubble.
The bubble technique
So
at the bubble.
I'll tell you what, my new obsession is float
Camping.
tubing fly fish.
I thought you were gonna say camping.
Fly fishing lakes, alpine lakes on a float tube. That blew my
Have you
mind.
float tube before, Frank?
Yeah, but you know what, man? Like it took me a while. Like I had to when I finally really did do it. It was up at Pyramid Lake, Nevada, and I just had to.
Luke too.
You too. That's where you first did it.
Yeah, I was in the single man pontoons, a little different than a float tube, but very similar.
Yeah. So mine was like a float boat, right? And the floor's cut out. And you sit there and you got oars and you can have fins on. Yeah. It was a
So
cool
that's
little
what I
boat.
did at Pyramid. But when we went to Lake, I hope I'm saying it right, Lake Mamie, up in Mamie,
Lake Mamie.
however you say it. We went up there and we did a true float tube with the fins, which is much smaller. It was pretty cool too because I was like 150 pounds over the weight limit, so I was getting in there like I don't know if I'm gonna sink or topple over. It was a trip.
It was good though.
Yeah.
It looked good. Oh, stay tuned for the video, guys.
Yeah,
It's
that
coming
video
out.
will come out on Friday or Saturday.
Hopefully.
You know what? Go for it.
No, you go.
I was just gonna say, the float tube game has been like a whole nother thing to me, right? I mean, I like to walk and wade, I like to chuck those streamers and just, Pyramid Lake, like just waiting for when we're on our ladders and you're chucking streamers out and stripping, So even
So you like the ladder?
I mean, yeah, and for the most part, but I mean, I've been successful on the boat too. I got friends at Pyramid Fly Company, and they just kind of if I arranged a trip, for me and a group of people, it's, hey, they'll let us know, like, hey, you guys are going to be going out on the boats today, or hey, we got a beach where you're going to be stripping, it's
that's
me
another run I
personally.
want to make.
Let's go. It's
I'm ready.
once they start coming in closer to the shore, and then that way, we can, just grab some ladders or find some rocks,
I'm just
somewhere.
gonna steal Daniel's float tube when I run up there. I
There
got
it
my
is.
waders and fins. I just got to steal Daniel's float tube. He's literally on the way.
It's a big one.
It's
What's
as
the
big as
big-
the one I used last time.
Have you inflated?
He hasn't touched it. He's used it as much as you've used your kayak.
I would have been already.
Yeah,
You
you
got
would
a
have been.
kayak?
Yeah, Charlie, that's a
Charlie's
lot
got
of
a
bull.
kayak and
That's
a float
lot
tube.
of bull.
Oh.
Charlie's got a
Never
kayak
even
and a
using
float
it.
tube, and he hasn't used either one.
What are you going to do with that
So-
kayak, Charlie?
Nothing. He doesn't like kayaking. Charlie's got two kayaks and a float
mounted
tube.
that kayak on his
Oh,
wall.
dang.
It's wall art. at
No,
this
you know
point.
what? The one kayak is good. The other one is not. It has cracks. It needs some tender love and care.
But
That's
a
why
sink
would
or
you throw it
swim
away
kayak.
if it's got cracks?
Huh?
Sink or swim kayak.
Sink or swim.
I said, why haven't you thrown it away if it's got cracks in it?
No, but it could be fixed.
Oh yeah, it could be.
Because you don't have the time to use the good one. You're gonna find the time to fix it. We know that story
Hey.
all too well, Charlie. I could read
So,
you
Charlie-
my biography right now.
Charlie, it's your favorite part of the night. Ask your favorite question.
What's your PVs, Frank?
Shit. And what?
Let's go cutthroat. Because I know you cut cutthroat before, right? What's your biggest cutthroat?
Like a Yellowstone cut, probably like that 4 or 5 pounder, up off the Yellowstone River in Montana.
The big
They got
mounts?
teeth. They got teeth, yeah. Then so then if I go to the Pyramid Lake, Nevada, like right now, I'm at 15 and a half, and I mean that's my personal best. But I mean, there's dudes catching 20 plus. I mean, that's where my goal is, right? 20 plus. But yeah,
Mhm.
15 and a half is kind of where I'm at. Yeah, 15 and a half pounds on the strip. Yeah, that was a good one. But yeah, I mean, as far as cutthroats go, that's about where I'm at. West Slope cuts, for me, like maybe 2 pounds. Other than that's it for cuts.
What about like trout? Like
Overall, like browns, like that's definitely something I enjoy catching a brown. I think we all do. They're just like heavy. They're just dogs, man. They just dig in and fucking
they're like the
bear.
Calico of freshwater. They're mean.
Yeah, right. So each trout fights differently, like a brown is just mean, right? Then you get the rainbow, and he's like a tail walker. They're jumping and doing flipping and doing all kinds of stuff. The cutthroat, they're just big heavy dogs that just kind of throw their weight around, and brook trout, it's going to be brook and tiger, they're kind of just a cross of like a brown almost a little bit, kind of comes in to just aggressive, hard hitting fish.
I've had a lot of brown trout like barrel roll on me. I feel like they're just once they feel the hook, they almost go like just crazy. They're just
Dude,
like I'm gonna do
sandbass?
everything to break. Just
like a
break
sandbass?
I haven't got one of a spotted bay bass yet.
You haven't caught a spotted bay bass?
Sandbass
Not
go
yet.
a little bit crazy too.
Yeah. That's where we gotta go hang out, Charlie. I gotta go find these spotties, man. I just hear rumors of how they fight. They're dogs.
We went out for spotties the other day. Me and my dad were in my boat, and Frank and his buddy were in a drift boat. And all 4 of us got skunked. And my dad was fishing regular gear. And so normally if I'm having a bad day, I'm like, if I'd have been on traditional gear, I'd have killed it. But no, we fished hard too. And like I said, my dad, he usually doesn't skunk. So, and he was on regular stuff. So it was just one of those days.
Hey,
Yeah,
Luke,
spotties are coming.
we don't say we get skunked. No, I'm kidding.
No one talks about getting skunked, but man, it happens.
We gotta go spotty fishing. For sure.
Yeah. Charlie, you know what, man? Like meeting you just even like through DMs first, and then text messaging, like, I don't know, man. Energy exchange is real to me, right? And it was just like your vibe, dude. And then like meeting you in person, like, dude, I don't know. You're just awesome. I mean, all you guys are awesome, you know, and it's
Thanks,
just
man.
the energy you guys. I was just so happy and stoked to be like, fuck, Calico Charlie, you know. I finally
Dude,
get to meet him.
when Luke met you, he was like, dude, I met this guy at the fly shop, super cool. You'll like him. I'm like, when am I gonna meet him?
Yeah, right, dude.
Well, I was
That's
like,
cool.
we hang out on weekdays. You can't come.
No, but dude, we didn't even get into the whole tuna fly fishing. Like,
Oh man,
man,
yeah,
that's a
our
whole different.
Marlin.
That's
Yeah,
that's a whole different episode in itself. But what
yeah.
about Calico? Like, what's your biggest calico on the fly?
Probably pushing like maybe 5, 4.5, 5. Usually, I
Dude.
mean, the only what's that?
No, I'm like, dude, that's a big calico
Oh,
on the fly.
yeah, but I mean, we want that bigger, you know. Like, I see what you guys catch. You know, there's another dude out there that's catching on the. I mean, we all catch what's in between, you know. But likewise, that consistent, right? I mean, I'd rather. Yeah, I just want to dial that in.
You got those big sand bass that night.
That dude, that was freaking dope. Those guys are some heavy hitters, man. Like
Oh
that's
man,
what I really dug that day. Just like,
although it's just a sand bass, like some people say, right?
nah,
But
they have some shoulders.
those things fight hard, man.
Mm.
Dude,
Those
their
things fight
takes.
hard.
As soon as I felt it myself on the bottom, and it was just like, okay, I know I'm on the bottom. I know they're there, and there was just a couple of, like little strips to get it moving. Like their take, like just when they just grab it, and I'm like, oh shit, I got a fucking strip set on this thing.
Yeah,
Like
they're turning.
Yeah.
Well, that
And
was
they're-
funny because you beat your PB 3 times that night.
Yeah, that was good. You put us in a good spot, Luke. I mean, I got to give credit to you too, man. I mean, you know the rigs, you know the wall, and that's what it takes too, not just the fishermen. So
it's interesting that you say that because Daniel said the same thing when we were out with who were we out with?
Fish show.
Fish Show Magazine.
Nick
Sorry, I'm
from
blanking
Fish
right
Show.
now. Fish Show Magazine. Daniel said the same thing. He's like, Luke's a whole different beast out in the wall now, man. Well, that's his
Putting
playground.
in the time, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's his playground,
That's
right?
my office.
yeah, time on the water. Oh,
Time on the water.
Yeah, I was just about to
Hey,
say,
if
it goes
you
back
are you
to
do you
that
really
experience.
work there if you don't know where they hide the good snacks?
Hey, that's a good one. Do you really work there? If you don't even know where the snacks are. Dude.
Dude, those were freaking like 7-course meals. You know, those weren't the
Yeah.
snacks. I mean, and
Dude,
likewise.
Those are fish tacos right there, man.
What was
Sorry, I
funny is
just
on
about
the
to say
big
the
sand
same, but I'm
bass,
concentrating pouring.
the big sand
Yep.
bass hit 4.7, and I think
Put your
I had a
mask on.
fly. I had a fly stuck in my back. So I'm getting this fly out of my back. Like it's like right in the middle where I can't reach it. And I
Put your
finally
mask
get
on,
this
Daniel.
fly out, and I look over, and Frank's rod is just like a rainbow. It's
Dude.
like full, like I think like the tip was almost in the water.
Oh, I'm sure
And
it was.
It was
Yeah.
just like I'm like, oh, I need the net. Where's the net? Where's the net?
Dude,
Yeah.
I saw that video. It was like you could hear the pop in the video when the hook hit him on the back.
Yeah.
Sick. Well, we come to the end. Frank, thank you for hopping on, brother. Like it was cool, man. Getting to pick
For
your brain
sure.
on fly fishing, man. Hopefully we could get out there soon and
Yeah,
fly
definitely.
fish.
There's just so much more to talk about. I mean, this platform's super dope to talk on and get more exposure, right? Bring that whole fly fishing awareness, or that, hey, we do the same stuff. You know, we're just using different lines and it's different patterns, but it's just, we're fishing those same places you guys are fishing.
Sorry to interrupt you. You know, it kind of sounds like you haven't caught a spotty yet.
That's what he's saying.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying.
Well,
Yeah.
clearly,
By the way,
Luke
I
has
haven't caught the spotty on the
Luke
fly
has done
either.
you dirty.
So Luke hasn't caught a fly spotty yet.
I haven't caught
either.
a spotty on the fly. We've only had time to go out one time. As I say, the four of us went out. All 4 people skunked.
Yeah.
I have it right here. I'm taking it with me. I'm going to go catch spotty on the floor. There we go, guys. I got
Yeah.
it right there in the shop. I'm taking it with me.
You're gonna go fly fish for a spotty?
We'll take the
Yes,
float
sir.
tubes out.
Take the
Sir.
float tube out.
Man.
All I know is the leader on this thing is probably for trout. It's probably very low. I'm gonna break off.
So
Just
what?
cut it down to the thicker section.
I'm gonna
Perfect.
answer this question real quick. You want to pin it, Daniel? Hey y'all, big fan. I'm new to fishing at 28 years old. What's the combos for fishing the wall? Well, first of all, 28 years old. I had stopped since I was like a young teenager. Like I stopped fishing probably 13, 14. Didn't pick it up again until 37. So 28's, you're never too old to start. Fishing the wall. There's a lot of. First of all, if you book with me, you don't have to have anything. I'll provide the stuff. But if you're fishing spotties, your heaviest spotty rod is a great place to start. You don't need to go out and get a Calico rod. You can fish your heaviest spotty rod, 40-pound line to 40-pound leader. That's going to get the job done. And then from there, I'd say, a good light spotty rod or light Calico rod.
Which
12
is
to 20,
going to be your
15 to 20,
17 to 30-ish in range.
Well, I was going to say 15 to 20, 15
I
to
think
25
15 to 20
with
is
a
good.
with a 150, and then from there you go up to the 17 to 30 with a 200 or 300.
I just got to put it out there, an 8, 9, or 10 weight, with a sinking line. You can go 20 to 30 pound, floral.
500 to 700 sinking line.
Yeah,
But,
if we keep it grain weight to grain weight, 4 1/4 up to 500 grains. Like we got to either way.
It all depends on what you're trying to fish too, man. If you're trying to go to the wall, like Lou said, maybe you could. If you want to learn how to fly fish, hit a Frank. It just depends what kind of
That's what
fishing you want to do. If you need a special,
this line says 700.
Oh,
if you need special
700.
baits to catch cool fish, hit up Daniel. It just depends what you want to do.
But yeah, no. In all honesty, if you're hopping on a buddy's boat, bring your heavy spotty rod.
But
like I said, if you're going out to the wall, like if you're gonna go out to the wall with me, you don't have to bring anything. I'll maybe buy some baits and heads or whatever, but you can use my rods and see what you like.
But if you want a short pound, you could also look into an iRod 764. Maybe.
I'm going to say this:
12 to 20.
If you don't even have a rod,
size.
Check out the 15 to 25. Probably heavy, in that range, 7 to 8 feet. I like a little bit longer rod in general, just for the castability. So that's going to be kind of the matrix that you're looking for. Heavy, 15 to 25, 7 to 8 feet in that range. The bait's 150. It's a little expensive. It's a great reel. It's going to last you, honestly, in my mind's a lifetime. But you can also look up the metrics for that and then try and shop around for something in this similar if that doesn't fit your budget. But for the most part, a lot of great rods out there. There's a lot of great reels. Hit up Luke, Charlie, or myself. We'll talk fishing all day.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, Frank, again, thanks a lot, man. We're going to hook up soon. Go fish for some spotties. Go fish with Luke for some calicos.
Yeah.
And, guys, thanks for, what on? He replied.
Wish me luck.
Good luck.
You're gonna really go fly fish right now?
No, I got to go home to my wife so she doesn't leave me. Then I'm going to go fly fishing.
All right, guys. But with that being said, thank you guys for hopping on. We appreciate you, Frank. Thanks again.
Right. Thanks for having me.
It all is our love for fishing. So thanks a lot for hopping on, guys. Whoever stayed this long, we love you guys for sure.
Thanks again, Frank. We appreciate you.
Yeah, you guys are awesome. Thanks for having me on. That was badass.
All right, man. We'll see you soon.
Right.
Later.
You got it. Later.